Iman Gadzhi, Shelby Sapp, and Brez are some of the most successful creators and course sellers out there. They have millions of followers and have made tens of millions of dollars by selling their digital products. So the question is, how are they so successful? What makes them better than the average creator course seller out there? Well, they have mastered the art of audience manipulation. And in this video, I'm going to break down the 4 main psychological triggers that creators like them use to manipulate online audiences and make as much money as possible. The first thing that these creators do before even building an online course or coaching program is engineering their ideal customer. And I mean that literally. They sit down with their team together and study who their audience is, what problems and desires they have, and desires in particular are incredibly important. And then they build every single piece of content and copy out there around that one specific person. More importantly, they build their content around that audience's desired identity. Now, let's take a look at Shelby Sapp's ideal customer. Let's think of a woman in her 20s or 30s. Let's call her Sarah for the sake of this video. She's working a 9 to 5. She's up at 6 a.m. every single morning because she has to be. She wants financial freedom, she wants flexibility, and perhaps she also wants to work 3 to 4 hours a day and be there for her current or future kids. So keep that in mind and watch how Shelby speaks directly to her.
Boyfriender this, boyfriender that. Meanwhile, it's not boyfriender that's making you ugly. It's workforce air. You do your makeup super fast. You're rushing in traffic just to get there to sit there for 6 hours. But if you're a girl, the second you look in the mirror and you feel like, I'm a little chubs, my acne's coming in again, like there's no way you can have a good day after that.
So the hook is, it's not boyfriend air that's making you ugly, it's workforce air. She takes something women already joke about, which is boyfriend air, and names a fear her audience or ideal customer already has, which is, my job is stripping me out of my own life. And then she makes that pain visible in the mirror. Your job is not draining you, your job is actually making you ugly. Because your job is draining you is quite easy to ignore, right? You can't really see it. But becoming ugly through your job, it's something that you can see. So it's more heavy hitting. Let's watch another reel from Shelby Sapp.
Sales to me is freedom, because I full-heartedly believe that if you teach anybody, and specifically a woman sales, she'll never go broke again for the rest of her life.
So this one in particular is a great example of a desired identity statement. She's literally telling her audience, this is who you could be. Financial freedom is available to you specifically if you learn sales. AKA, I see you, I see who you are, I understand your life, and I know exactly what you need to do to become the version that you want to be. Now, of course, just being seen isn't enough, right? Because the creator is still a stranger who just happens to articulate the feelings, fears, and desires that you might have. So the next goal is to get closer to you. So we're now entering the relationship engineering layer. The creator now wants to become your best friend, and this is done by establishing a parasocial relationship through storytelling. Now, obviously, these two concepts aren't exactly new. Storytelling has been around for thousands of years. Actually, one of the most effective ways to pass information and ideas on, while parasocial relationships were already studied in the 1950s when scientists noticed how television audiences developed one-sided emotional bonds with actors on a TV screen. But these two concepts can be combined and applied to content, to our modern social media era, specifically long-term YouTube content. This is why so many successful creators who make millions of dollars are all on YouTube. They see the value of this platform. So let's take a look at one of Iman Gadzhi's videos from the beginning of 2023. This is a 37-minute long video. Iman sits down and talks through what he learned in 2022. He talks about loneliness, he shows real emotion, and for 37 minutes, he's not selling anything, essentially. He's just being a person, a real reflective, highly emotionally intelligent person who just happens to be very wealthy and very successful. This is a common tactic that a lot of course sellers use. They tell their own story, they open up about their feelings, emotions, sometimes they even cry on camera. And the reason why they do it is to make your brain label them as a person that you know, not as an influencer or advertiser or someone trying to sell you something, but a person. because the format, long, personal, emotional, unscripted type of feeling, is the format of a conversation. So your brain essentially treats it like you're talking to a friend of yours. Now the relationship has been artificially engineered. Let's take a look at the video description. Iman Gadzhi writes that one of his biggest lessons from 2022 was the importance of having a cash flow business to fuel long-term wealth. And then the best way to do that, I covered in detail in this video. So what do you do after spending 37 minutes with this person? You click on that link, you watch the second video, and in that description, there's the link to Digital Launchpad for $37 a month. That's what makes this so effective. By sharing his struggle, his loneliness, his journey from nobody to somebody, he's done two things at once. He's proven that the path is real through storytelling, right? I've done that. And he's made you feel like you actually know him by establishing a parasocial bond. Alright, so by now you know that there's someone on the other side of the screen who understands your problems, your dreams, and who you know quite well because of that parasocial relationship that you've established. But there's still something missing, right? And that is proof of concept. Now, I'm not going to talk about social proof, aka showing testimonials, reviews, success cases of people who have bought a course, a coaching program, whatever is being sold. Because what these creators do is absolute genius. They combine social proof together with an aspirational anchor. Aspirational anchoring is a psychological concept where a creator sets an ambitious goal, aka the anchor, to influence future behavior. And this goal most of the time is some sort of lifestyle or a person. And this is where Shelby Sapp is a wonderful example because she puts one of her own students on camera.
Stop making excuses. You needed to take action.
Okay, so you're working 3 full days, half day on Saturday. Anything else?
I take off Sunday for church and family and
Love.
stuff. 22K last month.
So the woman just described her week. 3 full working days, half a day on Saturday. Sundays are completely off for church and family. That's it. That's the whole schedule that she has. And obviously we have the cherry on top, the $22,000 that she's made in one single month. Now, think about what happens in Sarah's brain when she watches this Instagram reel or this TikTok, right? If you have the attention span of a fly, Sarah is Shelby Sapp's ideal customer for the sake of this video. And what that interview clip gives Sarah is not a number of, oh, making $22,000 a month, which is huge. It also gives her a picture of a week, a specific version of her own life, right? The aspirational anchor, which is the woman in the video, that can be visualized and rearranged to fit Sarah's own situation. So more time for the things that actually matter to her. The gears start turning in her head. If she learned sales, she could even pick up her kids from school, for example, right? So the reason why this combination works so well is because the viewer doesn't think, oh, I want her results, right? Sarah doesn't think that. She thinks, I want to be the kind of person whose week looks like that. And critically, it's not Shelby Sapp saying any of this, right? It's someone who bought the program, the thing that she's selling, and lived it. This is the social proof, right? Your brain essentially doesn't label this as marketing, but there's evidence that this works. And this is why content like this is so effective. So we just went through 3 different layers of carefully engineered emotional buy-in. And there's one more thing left, which is the logical case for buying a product, a coaching program, a course, whatever they're selling. There's a concept in behavioral psychology called post hoc rationalization. We often make decisions based on emotions and then construct logical reasons for them afterward. So what this final step does, it gives you the logic before you even need to rationalize. The creators essentially hand you the logical justification pre-packaged. And one of the best examples for this is Brez's video from a couple of months ago. He released a video called 9-to-5 Workers Confront an Online Millionaire. It's essentially regular people like construction workers, college students, mechanics, and so on who come at him and essentially give him every single objection that you might have. And that's the point of the video, right? So by the time you finish watching the video, you've heard every logical reason why the course makes sense, why the program makes sense. You've watched someone else ask the exact question you're going to ask. And then you watched Brez answer it. For example, he covers the ROI argument. My course cost $4,000. College costs $60,000 in the US. takes 4 years and you graduate making $30,000 a year, right? My course, if you actually do the work, has students making $10,000 to $200,000 a month in 6 months, right? So by the time you finish the video, your brain has just been handed a reasonable logical justification for an emotional decision that you've been making throughout your journey. And creators do this objection handling everywhere, right? Inside their content, landing pages, FAQ sections, Instagram Q&As, and so on. So now you're about to buy the product and drop thousands of dollars for a coaching program or an online course, and your brain thinks it's totally okay. This is incredibly reasonable. It's a reasonable decision, and it's not just a random impulse purchase. And this is it. This is how the most successful creators make millions of dollars, by combining identity engineering, parasocial relationships, storytelling, social proof, aspirational anchoring, and logical reasoning to make people like you and I hand over their credit cards and sometimes even go in debt to purchase those ideal versions of themselves. Well, and whether these courses or programs are scams or not, well, that's a completely different topic for another time. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.